There we go. Good evening. Welcome to this Clear Creek Board of Education study session. It is January 13th, 2026, and it is 5:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Pierce. King.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
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 What is going on? Okay.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to amend the agenda for approval to move the E2 under policy work to our February meeting, being that I just sent 27 pages to the team yesterday. On that front.
Thank you for that work. I need a second.
I'll second, but will we at least maybe discuss it or no? Or we'll
Then we
just
can
discuss
touch on it if we want, or I don't think we want to do the deep dive on it.
Right, okay. Either way, I second.
Okay. King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes. Leah, would you like to share your poetry with us this evening?
Sure.
Yes. Woo.
Great. Okay. You have been thinking.
Say Leah joins us from King Murphy Elementary, and she is a fourth grader in Miss Mary Gordon's class. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your art with us today.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Stansberry, and I'm from Miss Gordon's fourth grade class at King Murphy, and I'm gonna read a poem and an essay I made about the district. Clear Creek Music by Cecilia Stansberry. My poem, Clear Creek Music, was inspired by spending 8 hours a day with my mom at the district. Clear Creek Music was also inspired by street music by Arnold Adolph. My poem, Clear Creek Music, was inspired by my school, my mom's school, Carlson, Georgetown School, and basically the whole district. I like school because it's very fun. I came to King Murphy when I started kindergarten, and now I'm in fourth grade. My poem, Clear Creek Music, was also inspired by street music by Arnold Adolph. Street music reminded me about how much I love the district, so I wrote a poem about it. In conclusion, my poem, Clear Creek Music, was inspired by the district and the poem, Street Music. Clear Creek Music by Cecilia Stansberry. Middle school, high school, the bus is so quiet. Maddie is somewhere in the crowd of students. I walk into the lobby. Kids are spilling out to the bus. Down the hallway. My brother's standing outside Mom's class. Turn right. In Mom's classroom. Out the front doors, quiet by now. We drive home. Mars is so excited. Jumping on us, scratching us like crazy. Then it's time for homework. Boring. Done. Time for dinner. Time for bed. Good night. Clear Creek Music.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Say thank you, Mary.
Yes. Shout out to Mary for that too.
Not wrong when she says homework is boring. Just as I have to do right now.
Do we have any public comment today?
All right, so I'm gonna do some updates and then I'm gonna share celebration and then introduce Scott, my update. So last Monday, Marcy and I attended the DAC meeting and we discussed many things. One of the things I was asked to do was to present the Unified Improvement Plan. which incorporates 3 priorities, challenges we're facing in the district. One is to increase 8th grade middle school students' performance on CMAS math assessment, which root cause of that was varying use of core curriculum resources and immature data culture. So up until the last couple of years, we hadn't had a consistent use of the Eureka math curriculum through the elementary level and into the middle school. And so our hope is by the use of that curriculum will help us really establish a math culture from early elementary level all the way through middle school, and we're moving it down to the high school level to expand that. So supporting the systematic unit lesson plan internalization and mathematics supports, systematic unit lesson internalization in mathematics. And so, and the data culture is that my hope is that when we get the release of the MAPS data, which the students are taking right now, so we really hope that our elementary and middle school students and high school students do really well on the MAPS testing. We'll use that data to really drive or understand where our students are as a predictor on their assessments that come up in the later part of the spring. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you where our students are at the Board of Education, so you get a sense of where our students are academically, both in reading and in math. And the second part is increase 8th grade middle school students' performance on CMAS ELA assessments. Again, we had varying resources previous to a couple of years ago. Now we use the ELA curriculum resource. And that's really going to help out with creating standardized instructional practice, and will support better lesson internalization for our students. That internalize them means students really learn the content and are able to demonstrate it, which will help with lesson internalization for that core subject too. And the other thing is low-level student engagement. So we have limited strategies for student sense of belonging and engagement. So we work really hard at the beginning of the year doing that, and we'll continue to do that with MTSS work, or with our counselors are doing in our schools. Our teachers are doing things to help make connections with students, to meet students where they are, so they have a sense of belonging in school. And we did a panorama assessment of that, which I look forward to sharing with you all the panorama assessment data. And that will expand our culture of safety and belonging within our schools. Then I attended the enrollment task force meeting last Tuesday. We talked about our efforts. We really celebrate our efforts that we had done during the summer and the fall to understand better our students' enrollment and how do we do a better job of reaching out to our community. And I want to do a little shout out to Stephanie back in the back there, who's in the audience right now. She helped me revise our postcard. So those of you who live in the 80439, 80427, and 80422 zip codes will be receiving a postcard next week that will highlight our elementary, middle, and high school programming, and really encourage you to take a look at our school district. And there's a QR code on the back of the card for you to take a picture of. It takes you directly to our enrollment page on our website. And that will also have some videos that you can look at from parents describing their experience as parents in our community. There's some videos, other videos about students in our community that will help you kind of get a sense of what we have to offer students. And so we hope that people will check us out and consider enrolling their student in our school. And we also, we're also monitoring students who withdraw from our district. And I want to thank the task force for updating the Google form that we're using. So we have a better understanding which schools students are leaving, so we can better dial into what their needs are. And then on Wednesday, I met with building leadership and the Blue Sky BOCES. We're looking at how do we bring a center program. We talked at the last board meeting about the number of students who are leaving our district with significant special needs, sorry, I should say it that way, that require an out-of-district placement. And so our hope is that in the near future, it could be next fall, or it could be probably next fall based on the timeline. Can we have those students return back to our district and be in a center program so they'd be amongst their peers in the school and getting the supports they need for their IEP. So we did that. We also are starting to begin our conversations for the school year on staffing and budget. So those are preliminary conversations so that when we start getting our final numbers, I can give the Board of Education a better understanding of what our needs are within our schools to help you make the decision on how we want to allocate funds for next school year. And then on Thursday, I met with consultants, and the director of the Clear Creek School District Foundation and the Clear Creek High School staff to talk about our outdoor rec and tech field studies program. And so we're looking at, I met with the high school staff and counselors today, looking at curriculum crossovers, program calendar, publicity next steps, open house presentations, meeting with out-of-district counselors, and budgeting and scholarships for our students so that our students can participate in the program. So we've got a lot of things knocked off the list, and we're looking forward to presenting an updated website here soon, where parents can check out what the outdoor program looks like, how it would meet the needs of their students when they're senior year. It's a one semester course, and how we can make sure our students get the most out of their senior year, but also attaining their graduation requirements so they can graduate on time. So we're excited about that one. And then last week on Thursday, I met with the folks at Elevated Community Health. We have started the outreach to the Community Advisory Council group to guide us on the programming. We decided we're going to have here at the high school, but we're looking at what are the needs of the program to make sure that we have the programming offered available for the students. So if you've been sending invitation, folks out there watching us, please consider joining the advisory council so that we can make sure that we get your input as we move forward with this. And then on Friday, we had a great presentation. I think almost all the teachers were present for the Life Spot training. So that was installed on our personal devices. We went through how it works and how it tracks us on campus. If there was an emergency, how law enforcement be immediately notified of a situation, and how they can immediately go to their phone and find out where people are and where the incident was notified on the phone, so they could go to that place first. So it's a really great resource, and we're glad to bring it to the district, along with other things we're going to be having here to increase our welcoming environment in our schools, but also a safe and secure environment for our students and staff. So with that, my next thing is to do a little congratulations. I have a little bit of a little banner here and a certificate, so I'm going to stand up. Scott, if you can come to the front of the room, I'd like to present this to you. So this.
You should have worn a tie.
But how would your parents want to say it? All right. So on behalf of Clear Creek School District and the Colorado State Board of Education, I want to recognize King Murphy for their excellence achieving the 2024, this is from last year's Distinguished Improvement Award. So congratulations on that. And we have banners to hang up in your building to recognize the achievement of your staff and your students, your school, and the good work you're doing as the leader of the school. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes. All right. And during the transition, if you want to pull the seat there at the table, I'll introduce you as the man of the hour right now.
Letter to the side, I'll share.
Oh, that's funny. So Scott Bain is the principal at King Murphy. He's in his third year as the principal. Scott brings nearly 3 decades of experience as a teacher, instructional coach, and school leader. I think I experienced one of those decades with you in Jeffco. He has a strong commitment to innovative, student-centered learning, and has led schools grounded in experiential education and restorative practices. Scott focuses on aligning theory and practice to create authentic learning experiences for students. He's deeply invested in education as a profession, as a partner with, and has partnered with organizations such as PEBC, EL Education, and Education Reimagined to support high-quality instructional locally and across the country, emphasizing both academic excellence and character while empowering teachers as creative professionals. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and I think you're going to give us a presentation about King Murphy.
Yeah, thanks. Good timing.
Yeah.
You get it? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna maybe step back a little bit because I know we have some more new board members. So welcome and all that. And so I'm gonna just give a general overview of King Murphy and who we are and what's sort of unique about our school and our program. And then I'll get into some of the specifics of sort of happenings of this year. So if you haven't Gift of Place is one of the things that's a highlight of our school. The location is spectacular. When I took the job, I did not factor in my commute as one of the parts of the decision-making. However, I have found that to be a really enjoyable part of it rather than going down the hill into the city. I go up and I get the spectacular view of Mount Blue Sky. And so I would encourage, if you haven't been over there lately, it's worth the drive, whether you go up Stagecoach. You can also take the back way from Idaho Springs up 103 and drop down Whittier Gulch, which is also a spectacular drive all the way through. So I would recommend that because it's a beautiful campus and a great place for kids to learn. It's a really tight-knit community. Most of the kids grow up through the program. It's kind of like family. When I do encounter issues with kids, it's often like siblings because they've been together so long and they know how to push each other's buttons and that kind of thing, but they get along really well. We use Crew Time as a tool to deliver social emotional curriculum. That's also kind of woven with restorative practices for community building circles, and that's just a way to get kids to connect and share who they are so that they can be seen and have a strong sense of belonging. Over my years, we started with an emphasis on high quality work. That's an element that comes from EL. One of the sort of forerunners with EL is a guy named Ron Berger. He's spectacular. One of my most influential educational books would be The Ethic of Excellence. He also wrote a really great book called The Culture of Quality. I would highly recommend those to anybody, whether you're in education or not. The key essay from Culture of Quality is about this focus on high quality work, and that's both in social emotional realm and in the academic realm. And that has continued to weave through our focus as a staff for the past 2.5 years. Next up. The family engagement is just spectacular. One of the things I noticed early on is just the number of dads who participate at King Murphy. That's unusually high in my experience and welcomed. Ways that families can be engaged in their students' education. So we've shifted to student-led conferences. We're kind of doing a mix in the fall for the younger grades. The teachers still kind of take the primary lead on those conferences just because of developmental appropriateness and their age. But in the spring conferences, we're 100% student-led, and students get a lot of support. And that's a really great way for families to see how the program works. We have a really active PTA. We did struggle with having an accountability committee, so we've merged those into the same. With such a small school, it's hard to ask that your committed group of parents who show up regularly to show up multiple times instead of just through PTA. So we cover both of those bases, which sometimes makes for a little bit longer meeting. Like we were there till 6 last night to cover both those grounds. But that's a great way to be involved, and they do a lot of really fantastic fundraising for us. We have a lot of traditions around community events. We do a kickoff at the beginning of the year. We do a movie night. We have our chili kickoff, which is coming up in February. And there's just, the community invests, and it's just a organic time for people to just be with each other, and it creates a sense of belonging beyond the students to the families themselves. And this year, just it's worth noting, our PTA was feeling that there's a lot of economic pressures on families right now. So they took it upon themselves to start a food pantry. So that's just for anybody. It's in our front entrance area, so people can leave things or take things as they wish or need. And then in conjunction with the Clear Creek Foundation, which has been a phenomenal support partner for our school over my years, have started a family support fund. So people who are in need can make a request for funds up to $500 to support anything they need. That goes through the foundation to sort of be vetted through the foundation, and there's a few families have already taken advantage of that opportunity. Another element, we are working towards becoming more integrated with outdoor learning, and that's a process that we're still in the midst of, but this is a way of taking advantage of that amazing campus that I mentioned already. So we're on 14 acres. You didn't know that. We have our own trail system, which is spectacular. We did lose a handful of trees in the last storm, so we have a little bit of our trail right now, but that will be taken care of. And as a side note, I'll mention Colorado Tree Specialist, which is owned by a parent, Ryan Busnews. He has a student here, Reed, and he has a student at King Murphy as well. And he has made a concerted effort to deal with pine beetle. So in the last 2 years, he's taken out over 25 trees on our campus, which is really valuable. That's a side note. We emphasize a lot of outdoor play. Interestingly, as we get visitors from other schools, predominantly Jefferson County, they're always pleasantly surprised that we offer 3 recesses a day. So we have a morning, lunch, and afternoon recess where kids are encouraged to be outside. They're using our playground, they're using our trail system, and what have you. I'm sure that I know that you guys already have celebrated this, but just to point it out again, Pippi Graham, who's our pre-K teacher, won the Outstanding Environmental Educator of the Year award. And what she does with pre-K is just mind-boggling, the cool things that they're able to do. And then we offer a really rich opportunities for specials, which also having 2 a day is a pleasant surprise for Jeffco families as well. So they get the combination of art, PE, and music, and I thought I'd use this we had sort of some last minute adjustments that happened at the end of last year, and so we just created a nature-based learning specials. So that's in our mix, and that's Jill Coco who is offering that. It's sort of building the plane as it flies kind of thing. But it's proven to be really successful. You might have heard about the project with Trout Unlimited and raising the fish. She's involved with that. And so we're just looking for additional opportunities to make outdoor learning a consistent part of our programming. Another sort of integrated into the curriculum element of that. So EL education, sort of referring back to that Ethic of Excellence books, if you want to sort of learn more about that organization. You know, the EL modules have been a really great tool for us. I think it's brilliant that the middle school is now using those modules because both Carlson and King Murphy kids have experience with that. So that will look familiar to them and should help that transition be a little bit easier. That's also true with Eureka Math as well. But one of the things that really makes EL education special is what they call learning expeditions. And these are sort of multidisciplinary approaches to taking on a particular topic. And that also typically comes with field work, which gets kids out into the community, and even overnight trips. So obviously Youth Mountain Network supports the 6th graders from all the campuses to have their spring outdoor trip. And Miss Gordon, who Leah, your poem reader, classes, she's also been dipping her toe into that, and we did a trip last year to the Keystone Science School. So we are continuing to look for additional opportunities to take the learning outside, which makes it really authentic. One of the things that I'm talking to Nicole about, what do you think makes King Murphy special or unique? And she mentioned cross-stage learning, which to me is just part of what you do every day. So it was glad to have that pointed out, as that's something that we do well. So as you know, schools are one of the few places where kids are segregated by age. And so we want to break down those barriers to the degree possible. And so we've created opportunities where one learning expedition example of this was our kindergarten students do a design thinking unit. That's a learning expedition. They meet with the pre-K kids to find out what kind of toys they might be interested in. And then they design and build those tools, make modification or toys, and then they make modifications and deliver those to their final presentation is delivering the toys to the pre-K kids. That's a popular one. Our 5th and 6th graders are also paired with our kindergarten and pre-K throughout the entire year. So they have reading buddies. Anytime we do kind of whole school activities, they work together, and the older kids help support the younger kids engaging in whatever it is that we're doing. And then a really fun one that's been happening for the last few years is the 8th grade English language arts class here at the middle school. Those students do various projects. This year they were focused on folktales and retelling or reimagining folktales. They wrote their own stories, and then they came to King Murphy to deliver those. I believe they went to Carlson also. But that's a really fun thing, and the kids, look up to the older kids so much. And, kids being readers and being engaged in literacy is a model that's really helpful for our younger kids to get excited about being readers and writers. So the award is related to this topic. So as you are likely aware, the school performance framework is the tool that the accountability measures in the state of Colorado are used to measure the performance of schools across the state. So for the last 2 years, we've done really well on that. So the SPF is 100 points possible. So your point scale is based on that. For the last 2 years, we've been at 90 exactly out of 100 possible points, which is a very high score. And that actually puts King Murphy into a unique position where, in my investigation of Bergen, Wilmot, Marshdale, Rocky Mountain Academy, Carlson, all the mountain schools, with the possible exception, if you count Parmalee as one of the mountain schools, which I would say you could. As a resident of Indian Hills, I would consider Indian Parmalee to be, but we can say geographically they're far enough away. But point being, we outperformed all of those schools with the exception of Parmalee, which also houses the GT program for the mountain area in Jefferson County, and those scores are factored into theirs. And we do that in a 4-day week. And so we're really proud of that. If you wanted to get into the weeds on that one, as you begin to sort of go into the deeper details of that, there are places where in certain measures that some of those schools are outperforming us, but when you take the conglomerate score and put it together, we're doing quite well.
No competition, no competition at all.
No competition. I don't need to compete with them. I just know that what we're doing is great. And then Wes took a look at, or was mentioning the MAP scores or NWA scores. I'm just now sort of sorting out mid-year data at this point. We have kids in 5th and 6th that need to finish up. But so far that data looks really spectacular for mid-year with the vast majority. You can look at that data in many different ways. One really clear way to look at it is they break it into 4 quadrants, and you would like to be in the high growth, high achievement quadrants to the degree possible. And most of our classes and students fall, and the school as a whole, in all areas tested, fall in the high growth, high achievement category for mid-year this year. So then how are you doing that, right? Like, how are we getting the results that we're getting? When I first came, this wasn't the case. The scores actually prior to my arrival for a few years were needing some help. I would put it that way. And so looking at that, we started with that culture of quality conversation. And that really was a huge boost right out of the gate. Additionally, I would say that I and we are the beneficiary of the investment in the EL curriculum and the Eureka Math curriculum, because they were in their first year of math implementation, but they were in their second year of EL modules implementation. So when you have a really high quality group of teachers who are professionals, they know what they're doing, and you give them a tool like that, they can focus more of their energies on the art of teaching instead of trying to develop their own curriculum and what have you. And so that's really beneficial. And they'd gotten far enough into it. Oftentimes you will see an implementation dip. So if you see that in the middle school scores coming out of this year, I wouldn't get too worried about that, because anytime you take on a new curriculum, it's not unusual that you would see the scores go down before they come back up, because teachers are learning the resource. Once they have it down, generally would hope for and expect those numbers to come back up, and that's indeed what happened at King Murphy. So now we're in this phase where, okay, we've had a couple of years of really high scores. How do we sustain that over time, knowing we already have all those tools in place? So starting last year, I've worked with an organization which is called the Public Education and Business Coalition. So they go by the acronym PEBC. The acronym is really not that important. It doesn't tell you that much about the organization, but they are a professional learning organization for teachers, primarily. They do some advocacy work and policy work and other things. But for our sake, I've worked with them over the years, starting in about 2014, really heavily. And they offer basically an approach to teaching that is an umbrella over the resources. So you can use the instructional strategies supported by PEBC to teach EL modules, to teach Eureka Math. It's an approach of helping kids be metacognitive and really giving them the vocabulary and tools for talking about their thinking processes. It's also very much about student agency and helping students internalize and take ownership of their learning. So we've invested in this, and I started by facilitating what are called learning labs in just amongst ourselves. We've done some crossover learning labs with Carlson, where Carlson teachers have come to King Murphy, and we've gone to Carlson, where you're observing a teacher and then debrief. The real value of it is in the debriefing of the learning lab visitation. So they watch the teaching, and then we look for what are the things that are really strengths of this approach to teaching. How do we sort of call those out, name them, and then begin applying those to our own teaching? There's one more slide on PEBC, so I better check that one, make sure. Oh, so it is, you have to commit resources, money and time and people to this. And so we've done that at King Murphy. And at this point now, all the K through 6 teachers have gone to their training, which is a 4-day training that involves 2 days of learning lab experiences for them, where they're going across the metro area to watch sort of expert teachers in different areas. They learn a lot from that. So we're all fully trained. And then so we finished the training in November. In our December PD day on the Friday, we really tore it apart and said, what do we want to focus on first? Because there's component parts to their teaching framework. And the teachers have decided that they want to invest in understanding the thinking strategies. There are 7 different terms that they use, which none of that's rocket science. It's stuff that is involved in most learning models, like inferring, asking good questions, connecting to the learning you already have. It's just giving that vocabulary to the teachers and the students to work together. So we're emphasizing that, and then using that to enhance the academic discourse that's happening in the classroom. Another thing that's going on this year, with kudos to the enrollment committee, has been doing a lot of work in this realm, and we really appreciate the support that you guys have provided us this year. And so we did our first round of information nights. In my opinion, they went great. We decided to break it into 2 sessions instead of doing one combined. We did one session for families who are currently not in Clear Creek or not attending a Clear Creek school, who might be interested in coming to King Murphy. And so we did a specialized session in that one. That was great. It was weighted towards pre-K and kinder kids, which actually is good news, because hopefully you capture them and then they matriculate up. And that was pretty successful. Like on the very next day, we had 4 people who went ahead and enrolled right away. And then we've had a few more trickling in from them, to such a degree that we talked last night at our PTA accountability committee meeting that we might add one more pre-K, kinder, lower elementary focused session a little bit later this spring, just because we want to capture those kids early, and there seems to be an opportunity there, and we want to sort of exploit that in a positive way. And then the second session we did was for families who are already at King Murphy. It was open to anybody, but we specifically targeted King Murphy families to do a session to learn about the middle school, high school program. And Maria and I can't remember the teacher or counselor that came with it. Yeah, a counselor, and they came, and we had an event that night, our winter concert, and it seemed to start a little slow, and I was worried, but then parents trickled in, and it was more sort of casual open house. But it gave Maria and say the counselor's name again. Nicole, a really great opportunity to talk to families, and by the end of the session, we had a good turnout and good participation. So yeah, that's been great. We added a therapy dog this year. Happens to be my dog, so I'm excited about that. I get to bring my dog to work with me a couple days a week. I'm just bringing her a couple of days because it's really fascinating to watch. And obviously, I picked up the idea of, going to meetings at Carlson, and Elliot, of course, is there and talking to Jenny and being like, how did you come about this? And so she referred me to an organization called Faithfully K9 Service Dogs, which is where Elliot was trained, and one of the dogs who was here was trained by the same organization. They were fantastic. We worked with them for 15 sessions for Cassie to get trained. They have to pass 2 tests to be certified, which she was able to do, obviously. And I was looking to phase her in at some point, which I sort of moved that up more quickly than I had intended because of the events at Evergreen High School. So I brought her in the day after that, which was a little bit, she was ready, she was certified. I just was wanting to present to the students before I brought her in, but because of that event, I brought her in a little bit early. And it's been great to have her. There's, some regular customers who come visit her pretty regularly. And some of those, it's really amazing. Like they'll come in really dysregulated and not having a good day, and they can spend 5 minutes with her and it's like magic. It's kind of cool. But I've said to a few people that a few things I didn't really anticipate is when kids come in to hang out with the dog, they open up and they just start talking. And so I've gotten to know kids that I've known for the past 2 years much better than I knew them before, because they just start talking about what's going on in their lives. And that's a really great opportunity to get to know the kids better. The other thing that's been fascinating is how exhausted she is at the end of those days. And it's not because she's running around, she's basically in my office all day, but the emotional transfer that happens is pretty exhausting. So I think I'm going to keep her at 2 days a week because it basically takes her a day to recover before she comes in the next day. So, and that actually, the training was funded by Clear Creek Foundation. So another example of where Clear Creek Foundation made this possible. So, great. And that's it. I'm open for Q&A if you have them.
I don't know if this is more a question of the enrollment task force or if it's, I'm thinking it's been on your radar now that you've excelled in everything else that you set out to do.
Thank you.
Continue your path forward. But as we're looking at the numbers of our elementary school students that actually come to our middle school, high school, King Murphy is probably the lowest enrollment of those folks.
Sure.
Is that a focus of yours to keep this? It sounds like you're keeping them
Yeah.
tied into the community.
Yeah.
And keeping them well-rounded, but seeing them all come as a group to our
Yeah.
middle school, high school.
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Well, historically that's been true. The current 7th grade class, I think we only lost one of that, and that's a big class. We have 25
So that's
kids.
great.
And I think 24 are here, as far as I know. I did know that one had made a decision to peel off. The challenge for us is 6th grade is middle school and at Evergreen Middle School. And for some families, so it's really at the end of 5th
Oh, I
grade
guess
that,
I didn't
that they
realize
start
that, yeah.
peeling off. So
Right.
what I've seen, I do anticipate the current 6th grade class is small. There's only 12, and they're uniquely all girls, just by happenstance.
All boys the year before, all girls the second.
Yeah, and I do expect that they will all come up. I haven't heard that anybody is not planning to come up. However, the current 5th grade, or when that group was in 5th grade, I had a couple of families peel off, and I have talked to those families, every single one of them, on behalf of the enrollment committee. There's a family that had moved to Conifer years ago, but loved King Murphy so much that they kept their kids at King Murphy until the end of 5th grade, and then they went to West Jet Middle School because of the
Well,
drive.
let them stop.
Yeah, or have them move back closer. So they had nothing but lovely things to say about the school, and just said it's just a family dynamic and that we're doing that. And when that student left, there was 2 boys in the class, and when he left, there was 1. And the one was also a Jeffco resident, Jeffco student, and that family was concerned that being 100% girls would be challenging for that student, and I don't disagree. And they felt like doing that transition when all the other Evergreen kids were transitioning to 6. So there are some things that I feel like are hard to control,
You have your thumb on the pulse, and
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I did follow up with them, and I felt like everybody has different perspectives of,
Sure.
but for the most part, I feel like people are generally happy and are leaving for reasons that are
Out of our control.
out of our control. Yeah. So,
Thank you for that.
yeah, sure. And we'll see what happens with fifth grade this year. I haven't heard anything, but, so. Yeah,
Thank you
thanks for
your
asking.
work. Yeah.
Anything else? Questions, wise?
I just love your work at King Murphy.
Thank you.
All of our kids are excited to go and
Yeah.
that's a big part because of you. So
Yeah,
thank you
nice.
for your hard work and all
Appreciate
your
it.
work with the teachers.
Yeah. Well, thanks for signing up to be on the board. So.
Oh, you were
Yeah.
the one that talked her into it.
Well, when it became apparent that there was nobody slated to run, at the point that I realized that, I started talking to certain parents that I thought would be a good fit.
Oh, yeah, thank
And
you.
Nicole obviously is a great fit. So
Yeah, we appreciate that
it's been
too.
nice to have her. As I step away, I'm gonna grab these things because I need to deliver them back. These are Mary's tools.
Okay, do you
on
need
the
any help?
speaker. I think I can take care of it, but I don't want to
I
have
wouldn't
to
offer myself. I
sneak
just-
up here later and disrupt everybody. So, because to be transparent, I will probably not stay till the dinner.
It's okay, you
So-
can always remote in, we make it easy.
Yes.
You drive home.
Yeah,
And bring your dog next time.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I
I should
mean,
have brought
if
her.
she's not.
We need emotional support too.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Why don't we have a board of support?
staff.
I have one.
advantage of it. So,
I'm bringing
that's true.
Pepsi.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you, Scott.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. So we've got the Enrollment Task Force Committee with us this evening. Thank you. You have a
They're all just.
I would say thank you for Tom and Addie and Stephanie. Are you guys all three pretty or just Stephanie?
Just me.
All right.
They're my
Stephanie.
cheerleaders.
So Stephanie, please join us. Stephanie is a big part of our communications. And she's done a work, she'll show in her presentation, the one pagers for primary and secondary levels. And then, as I said earlier, she was very helpful in collaborating with the team to create postcards, which if you live in those 3 zip codes, you'll be getting a copy of to encourage folks to check out our school district for primary and secondary education, and has a lot of really good information to highlight some of the great things that we offer in Clear Creek School District. And so I'm excited to have her share some insight into, and I want to do a shout out to her for organizing the chance for Jessica, Marcy, and I to participate in the presentations before the winter break. I think it was actually for Thanksgiving break at DU. To get some insights from students in a marketing class there on what they would propose from not being connected to our district, but just looking at our data and our community on how to increase parent engagement and student enrollment in our school district. So thank you for that opportunity, Stephanie.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I'm happy to help
Yeah.
and happy to serve this community, just like you guys. Thank you all for what you do. So for those of you who haven't seen them yet, I'm just handing these out. Now, I did want to note that we've made one revision on the elementary school level since these are the old one-pagers. Oh yeah, no, they're different. One is targeted towards middle school, high school, and the other one is pre-K, elementary. Yeah. I realized I had given Scott all of my latest print, so I'm like, what do I have at the house? Anyways, do you have,
No, I just have to scroll.
okay, here we go. So, I know that you've all had an opportunity to see a similar presentation back in September, but there are some new board members, I think, since then. Essentially, our mission statement is to help grow enrollment and support you guys, to support our community, and help highlight all the benefits and differences that we can make in the lives of students in the mountain town. So here's our mission statement. We're going to be talking to you guys later on in the presentation a little bit about changing one of our taglines, perhaps on logos, to where academic excellence meets mountain adventure. So just kind of keep that in mind because that speaks really to our mission. Go on. So I don't want to touch on this too much, but this is essentially our organizational chart. We have 3 core groups. We've got the data collection group, which we started with. So when we first started meeting last May, that we had already come to the table with a lot of data, which was great. And we're continuing to improve that feedback. And so as we move forward, you guys will see us more involved in reporting some of that data, both to you, the DECA, various other parts of the district. Then we have marketing, and that is where I come into play. So in my personal life, I do a lot of consulting, a lot of marketing with my clients. And so I'm bringing that to the table and able to produce some of these materials that you see. In addition to that, just bringing some experience from other industries and having experience with nonprofit. So we work as a team producing videos, one-pagers, postcards, helping with social media where we can, helping to engage individually with each school to understand what their needs are, perhaps where they can be highlighted more, or how we can educate our community on what's happening. Then we have engagement. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. These are those who are then taking said data, marketing materials, and going out into the community to engage with those and educate. So whether that's helping to stand up the open houses and supporting, whether that's going to some of the local concerts or skate parks or whatever else is going on, both in Clear Creek as well as Jefferson County, that's what the engagement team within our committee does. So let's talk a little bit about what we're currently working on. Websites and materials essentially have been upgraded, but we are open to working with each school individually to help them with some of their internal and external communication documents, whether that's newsletters, things like that. And so we're very open to receiving feedback, and really just if they're interested in asking for help, we're happy to answer. Then we've been working strongly on coming up with a clear district identity. What is it that the data is showing us? And then what is it that our courses are helping our students with? Some of those specials, what makes us unique from other districts? And we've really determined it's our location, it's the outdoors. So we're helping to redefine a little bit what Clear Creek means to some people, and in saying that, combat against some of the misconceptions or bad publicity we've received in the past. Hold up, sorry. And then expanding community reach, that's really important. Again, we would love feedback. If you guys know of events or things that we should be doing or be at, that's important, because then we can ask those who are involved with the schools, whether it's PTAs, whether it's us, whoever else, to have a physical presence there. Next steps, destination positioning, unifying that message. As you may note, some of the social media accounts as well as other platforms sometimes have some slightly different logo and branding, other things like that. So what is it we can do to bring that unified message and make that look clean and consistent across all platforms? We've got scaling that works. Currently, we're working on a playbook, and we'll go into more detail about that in a little bit. But essentially, what does that mean? That's an SOP, standard operating procedures. And so we're doing that internally first. What we would love to do is possibly expand that to enrollment, working and coordinating with some of those at each school that work in the enrollment departments, whatever that looks like. That way we can help guide them on exit strategy, entrance strategies, what are those FAQs that they're hearing all the time? How can we provide them the support they need when people have an inquiry? Data-driven decisions. Again, we want to know the why behind the why before we move forward and present things to you all. Okay, moving forward. So some of the updates. The website launched. That was not due to us, but we did provide some feedback, as I would like to think everyone did. We have targeted outreach materials. Really, we identified 3 key areas on enrollment. You have pre-K and kindergarten, you have 5th graders, and then you have the 8th graders. And we identified those key age ranges because those were when parents were making decisions about when to enroll or where to enroll their children. And so we have put our target audiences into those 3 buckets, so to speak. All right, so I'm going to show you guys some of the examples of what we've had done in the past. We've had newspaper ads, we have the 1-pagers, which are really 2 pages on 1 sheet. And then we have other support materials that we've done for open houses, and as well as the postcard that hopefully we all receive one in the next week or so. Okay, coordinated digital presence. So currently we have a gentleman on our team, on the marketing team, named Trevor, who's been doing some drone footage as well as compiling other video of various schools. In addition to that, through outreach and engagement, we've been reaching out to alumni, both recent and some as far back as 15 years ago, to get a little bit of feedback about how on video, addressing let me explain that we first came up with a list of what are those concerns that parents have with enrolling in Clear Creek. And we got those questions from the data. So this is how we're all working together to come up with a strategy. So once we came up with that list of questions, we were then able to provide that to alumni. Hey, we'd love you to pick maybe 3 of these questions to address. What did you take away from your time at Clear Creek? What was your favorite class? Did you have an inspirational teacher? Where are you now? What is one piece of advice you could give to a new student, incoming freshman, whatever that looks like, things like that. And we really wanted this to be organic. So that's why we came up with a list and let them decide which questions they wanted to talk on. So Trevor's going ahead and compiling some of their responses in those videos. So then we can share them on social media, maybe put them up on the website, YouTube channel, all that good stuff. Okay, and then we also did, as Wes spoke to, we did a collaboration with students at DU in one of their management courses. I had the opportunity to go down back in September, October. A lot has happened between now and then. So back in September, I had an opportunity to go down there and speak to the class, present Clear Creek, present some of the benefits. Did I just hit something?
I don't know, you just said something.
My apologies.
Oh, that's
There it is.
fine.
Okay, thank you. And then we had an opportunity to answer questions. I was in communications with the professor there throughout their 6-week time period where they had an opportunity to work in groups on deliverables. Essentially, we wanted them to present to us 3 strategies, grassroots centric, for increasing enrollment at Clear Creek School District. Gave them a budget of $1,000. I'm not saying we're going to use that, but that was to emphasize that the sky is not the limit. So that was fantastic. Some of us had an opportunity to go down there and listen to their ideas. It was a lot of fun. Working with students was great. I personally had a great time doing that, and I think we got a lot out of that. Scott, you'll probably hear from me on some of the things. Let's see, Jessica, what was one of the ideas? Trails and tales. Engaging with the community and bringing them onto the trails that might be on the school campuses and reading to them or engaging in nature play, whatever that looks like. They also came up with some great ways of bringing awareness through snowshoeing or fundraising, whether they're PTA ideas or they're school sponsored, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of ways that we can help our community not just understand more about Clear Creek School District, but about the world we live in on the trails and the ones that are close to home for us. So that was just a great experience. And, next steps for that is we'll be setting up a meeting with Wes and kind of going through some of those, coming up with a little bit of a timeline, like, hey, what seems reasonable to implement in the next 6 months? What do you think seems more like a long-term goal? So going into what these next steps are is identifying additional print opportunities, social media, how we can ramp that up. I think communication is one thing that our data team has showed us that families are really interested in seeing an overall improvement on. And so we can use some of these marketing vehicles to do just that. In addition to that, with this SOP that we'll be building, we're not going to have to reinvent the wheel every year. We know, okay, hey, based on some feedback, perhaps postcards need to be out by the end of November. That means we got to get our first meeting in the books by the beginning of October, because we got to get materials approved by the end of October so that we can go to print beginning of November and distribution. So by creating that timeline, what I like to call is back scheduling, we can do that with each project and each initiative so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel or scramble. Stress-free environment. No emergencies in marketing, that's what I like to say. Or at least there shouldn't be. Okay, so complete core media assets, videos are gonna be a huge thing. And so we're gonna see those online. Trevor should be reporting back status of some of those here shortly. So I know that the next time we meet with you guys, we're gonna have some material. I just don't have a time for that yet. Active analytics and reporting. And so one of the big opportunities for us that I know Wes is aware of is going to be adding Google Tag Manager and analytics to the website. What that's going to do is show us where people are coming from, how long they're staying on the website, which pages they're visiting, what their steps are, mapping all of that out. In addition to that, did they get there from a QR code? How are the marketing materials actually functioning and working to support our mission of enrollment? So there's also other SEO tools that we can be implementing, but first things first, we want to get Google Analytics in place. Okay, advanced brand positioning. Before we change any logos, for example, for all staff or board members on their signatures, in general, we've been pretty loosey-goosey about updating logos for our marketing material. But in saying that, we would like to formally present, aside from just a traditional, Clear Creek School District RE1 with the beautiful mountain river scene. But underneath, we would like it to read where academic excellence meets mountain adventure. So if you guys have an opportunity to discuss that as a group, I think it's really important for your approval before we make any changes. The reason we did that is for feedback from many families is that the current slogan per se doesn't really identify anything unique about our school. And that's one thing that gives us a competitive advantage. Because if you look at all the Jeffco schools, in the mountain area, all of their logos are pretty vague and don't say much about their schools. So if we have one opportunity to make a first impression, let our logo say something. Okay, and then prioritizing DU recommendations. I've already gone through that. Can everyone see okay? Am I blocking anything?
I've got it on my computer too.
Perfect. Okay, so here's an example of the newspaper ad. Short and sweet, and essentially a parent testimonial. Let's keep going. Examples of the deliverables, the one-pagers, which I handed out to you guys. This is just for some pretty images in my presentation. And then this is, I actually updated the slide. We are not using this postcard, but we are going with this postcard front right here.
Not today.
Yeah. Go team.
Woohoo.
Okay, data team update. Exit and family surveys were finalized and we're in the process of getting those out, I think, more consistently. But again, once we expand a little more on SOPs, we would love to just have a checkbox of, hey, when someone leaves, let's just make sure that we've had those conversations. And of course, we want them to be organic and natural, but sometimes we all need a little reminder. So if there is at least a document around somewhere, it's helpful. Okay, alumni data launch. We've also launched an alumni survey. I know that we're in the process of getting good feedback on that. It's also been going out to the Clear Creek alumni social media channels for distribution. Enrollment and test data. Year over year enrollment trends since we're still essentially in our inaugural year as a task force. We don't have a lot of historical data on how efforts have really contributed towards enrollment, but we are keeping track of that now. In addition to that, come next September, we're gonna have an opportunity to reflect back and really critically take a look at what has and hasn't worked and where our numbers are standing. So some next steps that is important, as I mentioned, kind of being a little more consistent with some of that student offboarding. In addition to that, supporting the principals and using that test data to highlight perhaps its improvements at individual schools, countywide, whatever that looks like, and helping support them with a test-taking culture, really critical thinking. How can we educate parents on that? How can we help with the teachers using language, different things like that. So, and then we have improving ratings and review. So if you haven't already, I would love it if everyone could take 5 minutes to write a positive review about Clear Creek School Districts or individual schools, depending on if you have a child or have had a child. You can go to platforms such as Niche, it sounds more exotic, NICHE, and then I believe there's one other.
Great schools.
Great schools.
It's the ones the realtors are stuck with, and
Yeah.
it's really.
And then just to let you guys know a little bit, well, let's go on to the next slide. That leads me into the next. Engagement team updates. Okay, well, I'm gonna go a little out of order here, but realtor engagement, since we brought that up. Can I just scroll up just a little so I can? There we go, beautiful. Okay, expanding realtor partnerships. So it's important to have these one-pagers, perhaps mailers, other things like that, so that we can go out to some of the realtors in the area who actually, surprisingly in Evergreen, don't know a lot about Clear Creek schools. They're literally just sending their clients to websites, which is why reviews on great schools or other platforms is really important. Now, just so you guys know, Google is a no-go. Google has shut down the review system for all schools. They realized students were doing it and it wasn't a clear, keep tripping on this, sorry. They realized it wasn't a clear
Love yourself again.
indication of how students were doing, or how the school was doing.
There you go, you're good.
Okay, thank you. So realtor outreach is really important to us. And let's see here. So let me go back in order. So district-wide open houses, we feel like they were a success, all things considered. In the future, again, coming down to a little bit of a playbook, some of the lessons learned is, hey, let's get those dates in the book about 6 weeks out. That way we can start really promoting them. We can engage with families we think might be interested in them and personally invite them. I think it would also be really beneficial if we had some families or parents speak in addition to the students. So we have a great opportunity. I know that Scott's done a great job with some of the presentations. Maria did a phenomenal job. And I personally found it really helpful to speak with the counselor because I had no idea of what to expect as a parent. So with a little bit of that information, I know we're only going to build on it further and make them more successful in the future. Okay. So partnering with PTAs, boosters, local businesses at community events. Speaking of community events, you're gonna see that we have a focus event strategy on our to-do list. So we are in the process of coming up with events later in the spring when it's supposed to be warm. And they'll have more outdoor activities in addition to that. Some of the summer festivals, perhaps the rodeo parade, things like that, that we can get involved with, that really shows our community pride. Not just our pride, and you know, we can educate people along the way, but it's an opportunity to us to have a presence there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get who the point of contact is, when applications need to be in, any cost or fees associated, what kind of commitment that needs. Then we can come back and say, hey, who in the community wants to support when and where, why, how, all that jazz. Okay, student pipeline connections, elementary to secondary experiences, basically mentorship programs. That was a big thing that was mentioned throughout our experience at DU. How we can connect and bridge upper level students with lower level, because as you know, what is the saying? You can take a man fishing and he has dinner for a night. You can teach a man to fish and he's dinner for the rest of his life. You know, when you allow other students to engage and teach other kids, whether it's social awareness, whether it's the geography of campus, or it's just a friend, you have a connection and they're going to be a more successful student in their next step as a result of that. So I know we're already starting to see some of that take place, and we're here to support and help facilitate more of that through the schools. Homeschool outreach. So we're actively working on how we can help advance the homeschool strategy. Right now, we're still very much in the research stages of that. I know Wes has had an opportunity to go speak with some of the, what would we call that? A homeschool co-op of sorts, getting a little bit of feedback. I know we have a lot of families in our community that do homeschooling. So what does that mean? Currently, we have some that are involved with sports here, and I believe that pretty much stops there. So providing that support to those families, and then also what are those marketing materials and outreach that we can do to reach those families and our community and let them know, hey, this is something that we're offering now. Okay, so as we talked about, some of the next steps, we're creating that master list so that we're not being reactive, we're being proactive with events. Standardize perhaps some of the open houses. I know that sounds really boring, but it's, when we say standardize, I think it's, hey, let's plan to have them when they have student events such as a play or a musical or a basketball game. Some of the feedback that we got was one of the families loved, like their child loved that they got to see other students playing in a middle school basketball game. You know, they identified with that. So ensuring there's students in the building when we have open houses. So when I say standardize, it's just, hey, here's a list of some best practices, but then you guys run with it. The schools should run with it to make it better. Friday and extension models. We're again, looking at the data on homeschool, hybrid. We're still in the research phases of that. It's something we fully support. And we're ready to help market and communicate that to the community when the district is ready. That makes sense? Okay, if you build it, they will come. Let's go down a little bit. So again, we're meeting roughly every 3 weeks. We offer that both in person here as well as online. Anyone is welcome to attend, even if you're not part of the committee. If you'd like to contribute in some way, whether it's an ear or some questions, please feel free to reach out to one of us who are here tonight, and we'll add you to the distribution list. So we're helping to redefine district-wide communications. And when I say communications, that includes marketing, that includes PR, that includes data, that includes everything, because it's how people perceive Clear Creek, and that's how we inform those internal and external stakeholders of what's going on. Begin development of an enrollment engagement playbook. Next steps, we're going to finalize and then share the playbook. We should have that completed before end of year. So we do expect to receive that so that we have a plan going forward on specifically some important dates and deadlines. And then something else that we'd like to bring up is addressing some of the parent portal issues, grade accessibility and accuracy. And that's important for a lot of reasons. You guys probably know more than I do on that. So yes, I believe that's about it. We have one more slide. It's just a wrap up. Here you go. This is what we're pitching. Okay, does anyone have any questions for me?
I don't have a question. I just want to say, this is awesome. Your guys' commitment and time, and it's been, what, like 8 months?
Yeah.
And you guys have gotten so much done. It's unbelievable. And I just want to say thank you.
I love having
Thank you.
these for my
Thank you, thank you.
clients as a realtor as
Oh,
well.
good.
And it's really, and
Let's
as a
get
matter
you
of
some
fact-
more.
Yes, well, I had a laser printer, I made that happen.
And I did my job and I did send them to realtors and so did Annette. Marianne got the link, so they all have the electronic version anyways.
And some of the local realtors that maybe didn't get a copy of it, I've got some extras that I'm giving out. But, and of course, those of us that are super local are well aware of how
Yeah.
awesome our school districts are. But I think you hit it, it's the Evergreen, it's the Summit County realtors that come into our areas that don't necessarily know.
And the amount of work that you guys have done, like if we were paying for it, we couldn't afford it. And
So this is-
it's out of this world what you guys have done.
Stephanie's expertise.
It takes a community.
It
It
does.
takes a community.
Yeah.
And we just
A
so
village.
appreciate that Tom was willing to be voluntold that.
We love us some
And I
Tom.
see how he's
We
just
do.
sitting there these days.
That's all I do. Because you couldn't truly, if you went out and recruited through ZipRecruiter or whatever it is, you couldn't get better people. We've got 80 is really the brains behind the operation. And Heidi with data, Stephanie with marketing, Kristen and a few others with engagement. You couldn't handpick. You couldn't go out and pick anywhere in the world better people. The only other thing, I sat here and tried to play not devil's advocate, but what did we miss? And we really haven't missed anything. The only thing I want to highlight is, and you mentioned the community partnerships. Wes is driving, like with the rec center. There's so much leverage to be gained by having interaction with them. You had a meeting yesterday, I
It
believe.
was a great meeting. I'll wait till you're done, but I.
Well, and I want to get enough, but Mountain Youth Network, Trek, those bridges and weaving that into Fridays and formalizing Fridays a little bit more. Another theme that the DU students gave us was really building a robust product around Friday, options around Friday. And so those were the only things that I thought about is mainly community partnerships. And I'm thinking rec center, not community with businesses, you mentioned that. But I'm thinking youth-oriented activities, how we partner with them. And it's been some growing. I'm anxious to hear, Wes.
So first I want to do a shout out. These are simple things, but they're huge for our community, is by the recommendation of the committee. We have all district activities and events are on one calendar on our website now. So there's a one-stop calendar available now for everything, which is fantastic. You can see what's happening at Carlson. You can see what's happening in Georgetown. You can see what's happening in King Murphy. You can see what's happening in the middle school or high school, which has been great. There will be a separate calendar now on our district website that will have, we're going to subscribe to the rec center's calendar, Mountain Youth Network's calendar. I talked to the library, but their calendar and the Performing Arts calendar will subscribe there, and it'll be one-stop counter for community activities that involve for students to access. So the parents can know when, where they're located, and if there's a charge for it or not. They'll know about that, and then go to our district website, which will bring more traffic to our website to expand. Stephanie, what you were pointing out is like, where are they going to on our website to look for other things? So thank you for all of you guys'
Yeah,
nudging too for us.
I apologize that I didn't emphasize enough about Fridays, but we have received a lot of feedback, both from data as well as you, is that new families to the district are concerned about Fridays, not as much with the older children, but with the younger children. So I'm gonna just plant that's a big, something that needs to be overcome.
Yeah, and I want to build off that too. Brooke, our transportation director, shared with us this week during my meeting with the operations departments that this last Friday, the 9th, was the largest number of participation she's seen in the years of running the program. They had a full bus. They had 3 buses run. One of them was maxed out as far as students on that bus, and 2 of them were getting close to being maxed out. So they had their largest number of kids participating in Snow Dodgers she's ever seen.
And that's another one, Snow Dodger.
And the scholarships probably.
The scholar, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you for a scholarship.
I don't.
That just happened.
Right.
That
Yes,
was some push.
And that was a nudge too. I don't, that's a different organization. I don't have that information, so I can ask.
Well, our teachers and our principals and whatnot delegated the scholarships themselves, right?
They
Through the
were-
form?
So we sent the form to the schools, they
Yeah.
shared it in their communication to parents, the PDF for the parents to fill out and submit.
Yeah,
So
so, yeah, it'd be great to know how many kiddos actually ended up going as a result of
My
this
guess a lot
amazing
more than
scholarship.
before.
Well, absolutely, I know that, but that's something
Yeah.
to champion.
Yeah,
That's
for
something
sure.
to put out there, that
Yeah.
every kid that wanted to participate in Snow Dodgers this year probably could.
Yeah.
Was that the foundation? No,
Yeah.
that was actually,
Snow
the clear,
Dodgers.
the sheriff's
no,
department.
that was the foundation, the Snow Dodgers Foundation. They took care of all of it.
What happened to the sheriff's
It all got
department?
spent on,
No, it
AP
didn't,
test,
because
yes.
the AP testing was already cleared.
It
I thought we
wasn't.
had this report.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm confused thoroughly.
So the Snow Dodgers Foundation, they take care of it.
Okay, that's, okay.
I sent
So
that
I'm
communication.
confused about
We'll talk about it later.
okay.
Sorry.
well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Say, moving on, legislative updates. The legislature starts to meet again next week.
Yeah, so there's lots going on. I'm gonna turn to Case right now for some guidance on what's going on at that level. So biggest issue we're facing right now is that, as we all know, the state's being faced with some real drastic funding changes. And that's really related to the one big beautiful bill that was passed by Congress in July and over the summer. Because of that, in addition to the Joint Budget Committee noting that we have a weakening labor market and increased consumer spending lately. Credit card delinquencies are at the highest level since 2011, pointing to financial strain for many Coloradans. Lower than expected corporate tax collection due to the results of the OBB, the One Big Beautiful Bill. And notable lack of clarity on critical economic data points due to federal government shutdown in November, which prevented the collection of some data and delayed the release of other information. So right now, previously we're looking at about an $800 million shortfall. We're looking at $1.2 billion shortfall in funding coming up. Honestly, there's probably around 50% chance that our state will experience recession coming up. So 50% chance, which has gotten higher than normal we have seen before. With that, the state now faces a $399 million shortfall in its current budget year. We understand that the governor has put forth a budget proposal that doesn't impact public education, which we appreciate. That'll be, I believe, the third year of that we haven't really been impacted by any budget cuts. The problem is that there's a real risk because of the amount of money they have to cut, how that will impact. And so some things come up to watch are the federal income tax credit program, which allows taxpayers to contribute to qualified organizations, distribute college scholarships to children who are enrolled in private elementary or secondary schools. And one of the questions is, our governor right now is looking at buying into that program, and what will the impact be on public education if that's done? The other one is the potential changes for calculation of specific ownership tax. Specific ownership tax relates to private vehicle registration tax collected by counties. Currently, that is not part of our funding impact, but the state may say that they want to save the $218 million that is collected through those funds, so that may be an impact to our schools too. That's the funding part of it. When we look at legislatively, the smoothing factor, because of House Bill 1448, looks at moving the 5-year decline enrollment averaging to a 3-year decline enrollment averaging. That will have a change, and so there were some proposals put out by Douglas County and Cherry Creek School District. Douglas County School District and Cherry Creek School District on possibilities. So those are to be determined how that will impact our funding moving forward. One of the things that was not dealing with funding was the automatic student enrollment bill that was created by some students and proposed to Representative Phillips, who put that out there to CASE membership. Overwhelmingly, the superintendents who are part of the CASE leadership said that really it's a great proposal and that it gives opportunity for kids who do well on their PSAT testing, because it gives a recommendation for picking courses. And so it helps with choosing, like it says in there, we recommend the student go into this AP course or this AP course. The recommendation was let that be the way it is and don't force the kids in the courses, because some kids may say, I don't want to do that. And it causes a headache of moving kids out of those courses. So we recommended that they leave it as is, use the recommendation, and then encourage kids by having conversations with them about what the options look like and make sure they have an understanding of the coursework that would entail and so forth. And then, as I mentioned, the federal text voucher and the SOT are the big ones right now hitting as far as funding. There are more coming out. I just got an email. I was sitting here in the meeting that some other legislative is being proposed, so I'll present that to you all in my board note update. So lots going on right now.
Jen, would you like to join us with the monthly expenses?
Yes.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, I just totally do want to find a little bit.
Sounds really exciting.
I put my computer down.
He's gonna race to his
I
car
was-
so he can turn it on
Watch
for his
Yes.
ride home.
I don't want you to get in an accident falling asleep to this. You just get home safe, Scott. All right. I only received, I think, one set of questions from Nicole. That I can go over, and then if anyone has any other questions. Let's hope that I save these in here. I have a few notes on a couple things that I changed since that report was ran, so I might just mention a few of those too. Oops. Let's see. Okay. Nicole did ask about the nurse, and it's kind of odd that it shows up in AP, but because we contract our nurse through BOCES, and her position is one of the few we can't charge to 3130 funding, so it comes through general fund, and then, it shows up through an AP that we get, through monthly and quarterly billing through the BOCES. And historically, up until I think either it changed last year or maybe the year prior, those were being billed centrally, and then, per the board's request for, reporting, we split that out amongst the schools. So her monthly times 0.25 and just divided out amongst the schools, and it kind of reads weird. It's not something you think you'd see on there, but I think because of contracts and things, she was hired through the BOCES. And then KCG, Drug and Alcohol Screening Company, we use for random tests performed on our transportation providers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the $9,000 for Firefly to Blue Sky BOCES, what's that about?
That is.
I know who Firefly is, but why are we paying $9,000 to BOCES for it?
Instead of paying the tuition to the providers directly as we used to, they invoice BOCES now, and then they're invoicing us quarterly for tuition reimbursement.
This is a,
This is a
This is
different
a-
Firefly.
yeah,
than
this
I'm
is not
thinking then.
Firefly's
Yeah,
AI.
that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Firefly's a guy?
Sorry, AI. There's a note-taking app.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, so what is Firefly?
This is a placement
No,
for
that guy who
schools.
keeps
showing
Yeah,
my
it's a
board
school.
meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
thank
a-
you.
It's the example when I talk.
I mean, that's a hefty bill for note taking, right?
Reggie-
I think we
he's
can all
already used
have
money
access
credits.
to it.
So it's a program, we looked at the overall cost for seeing students out of district for programming. This is what we're hoping with the center program, hosted hopefully at Carlson, that we would be able to spend within our buildings to support the students at our schools, instead of sending them out of district.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions?
I'll mention my few notes here. For some of the overexpense in the Ever-Driven, due to invoicing issues, we have recouped, I think 20,000, and we're still waiting for about 11,000 to come back. But
Thank you so
that's
much
back
for
in
that.
hand. Sure. Erin and I met with Jay, who is the lead on the BEST application, so we're going to apply for that this year for the fire alarm panel. It's a 68% match on us. And in the years, it's been anywhere between 60 to 75% ask for match. So
Who's Jay?
Jay Hoskins, he works, he's like in charge of the BEST grant. That's his over.
Oh, okay, so he's with the
Mhm.
program, the best grant program, gotcha.
And I think it's something that we're likely gonna have to do anyway. So having someone help match would be really awesome. The funding this year, 25, 26, 27, they do the initial rounds, and then, if projects come in less or somebody pulls out, then they start reallocating to a few more that were kind of in the medium list, and 6 more projects were funded, and we were the 7th on the list. So that does potentially give us some leg up on our application this year, since we were so close to missing it, but that was for our roofing projects that we went for. But yeah, this close, so that hurt a little bit, but.
Now, at CASB, they were kind of letting us know that that BEST grants were kind of going away.
I think the amount of funding they're receiving is definitely going to be declined.
Yeah, they pulled out of the pot itself, yeah.
And the number of applicants is increased, I think 20 over last year already, or with the intent to apply notices. He said there was 20 more than last year, so we'll see. But we were so close last year that I have some hope for this year. There was a check written to the high school activity fund. It's for the high school cross-country, which seems kind of odd for us to be issuing them funding for that, but it was because a student had written a grant. And we used most of that grant money to cover the transportation costs for cross-country this year. And there was money left over, so we sent it to them, to the high school, since they had paid for the hotel for the state race. And it looks like it's coming out of general fund, but you can see at the end, 2011, that's the Youth Connection grant that funnels through our general fund instead of 22.
The student wrote the grant?
Yeah, they're the student-led grants through the Youth Connections.
Oh,
I think with the guidance of a teacher,
That
but
should
Yeah.
be
I think we
on
received
some
3 or
kind
4 of those.
Yeah,
award,
let's celebrate that.
thank you, celebration,
I
a
agree.
student that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
we
maybe
need
share
to
that with
lift
me,
that for
with due
sure.
recognition.
Yeah, Sunny will have all the information on who and what, but
That's great.
I think there was 3 that were issued just this year, and there were a couple from last year. One was for a ramp, one was for hiking trails improvement, so
Still a great accomplishment.
absolutely. El Dorado, we've discussed that. We discussed it with Scott. Tammy's on getting that removed from our invoice and going forward at King Murphy.
You should get a deposit back on the water machines too. right?
Sure. Oh, I wonder if we got that at, well, I guess I wasn't here when we moved out of Old Carlson and we only had the one at DO and we did get a refund. ISA Technology, these are part of the safety and security coding. And so right now I have them being charged to $710, but I did journal entries to allocate those to the correct schools. So it's not coming out of a central fund there.
Do we have an accounting of, now that you're kind of separating them out and divvying out the actual bills to the different building locations, do we have a better understanding of how much the district budget is going to each of the schools specifically? Could we actually calculate what the cost per student at each school would be?
Yes,
I think that would be amazing information to have.
okay.
If you have it already, kind of thing, something that we can speak to.
Okay, I don't have that prepared, but I can for the next one.
I mean, we hear rumors out there, but I know your facts are a lot better.
Student per location. Funding breakout. There are still some that are being charged centrally that potentially could be expanded more into the schools as well, I think.
I feel like you'd have a better base now.
Okay. Northwest Council, there's 2 $455 and $1 charges. Those are old elevator inspections for King Murphy and the high school. Well, actually, one's for this year. And then the King Murphy one is from the year prior, so we'll probably see that show up again, but the checks were already issued and then had to be voided because they only accept electronic payment now. You cannot do paper check of any sort, so they were on my outstanding list for a while, so we tracked it down and got those voided and reissued, but you may have already seen those as an annual and then you're seeing them twice now, so I just wanted to point that out. The tire Purcell accounting got the numbers mixed and we had to reverse the coding. So whatever's being charged for maintenance is actually the bus and whatever's being charged for the bus is actually maintenance, because maintenance needed new tires this year. On food services, there are 2 charges where Steve used his P card and it says for pre-K, but they were charged to food services, and that was just, he used the coding that he always uses when he enters his UMB, but that was caught and moved to Fund 53, so those are really under Fund 53, not 21. Fund 41, bond, the first 2 lines are retainage release for the roofing projects. They were really delayed in getting us that final invoice, but it went through advertising and everything months ago, so that was okay to release. And the rest is work for the water treatment
Is our
repairs.
roof under warranty, any and all of the roof work?
What's that?
The roof work, is it, and I guess it's probably more of an Aaron question, but warranties?
Oh, I want to say the warranty was maybe a year, but I don't know.
He's online right now.
Oh,
Hey Aaron, what's our warranties on our roofs?
It's a 2-year warranty for the roof work that's been done at King Murphy in the high school.
I missed the first
So-
I
part.
missed it.
It's a 2-year warranty for both projects, the King Murphy and the high school. I believe the date is middle of August of 27 is when our warranty expires. And that's just on workmanship. It's a 20-year warranty on the roof itself.
Right, so right before that warranty falls out of, cycle there, are you gonna go around and do an inspection of all the roofs and look for the leaks?
Yeah, of course. We'll definitely do a walk on both of the roofs, and then obviously monitor leaks and situations as they come up.
Yeah.
We did find a leak today in one of the roofs at the high school, unfortunately, but that is under warranty and the contractor has been notified.
That's fantastic. Was that the rubber roof?
Yeah, the ballasted EPDM above the weight room at the high school.
Oh, they just take a high-powered hairdryer to it, it'll be fine.
Whatever they got to do to stop the water from getting into the school.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
It literally is a high-powered
Thank
hairdryer,
you.
so you guys know. Hey, just to remind me, the Soaring One managed IT for $16,000 this month, is that our current IT folks, or?
Yes,
And is that the monthly or quarterly or?
monthly.
It's actually less than what we were paying. Not by a lot, but it is less than.
I think
Are we gonna see
$27.
that contract as a board to approve it or look at it or anything?
I can send it.
I think that would be good.
And it's only through June, and so before we sign another or anything like that, I think we'll have a much bigger discussion too.
Okay, sounds good.
Is it working out for everybody better?
A lot
Yes.
so far. Night and day.
We're having to fix a lot of things that were left by the previous company. So we're fixing those right now.
All right,
Thank you, Jen. Most certainly. Thank you, guys.
policies.
Hooray!
Say, Nicole, you came in a little bit late. We are going to hold off on the D policies in E2.
At least the deep dive of them.
Yes.
The 27 pages you didn't have to have ready.
Since we're not reviewing that, since we're not.
All right, so policy JH, student absences and excuses.
Yeah, so this one was presented by Michelle, who does our state data collection and sends it to the state, and also is the one who submits documentation for students who are chronic absentee students. And when she was looking at our board policies, they did not align with state statute and federal guidelines. So her number one goal was to tighten up what is considered excused absences. This led to researching around districts' policies to see if we could make the language cleaner. For example, the first paragraph changes the statute as well as the specific language surrounding compulsory attendance. Another leading factor was the federal chronic absenteeism is based on 10%. Our policy said 16 days, which was based on 166 student count days, and we are now at 150. So the language aligns with the federal language using 10%. Work studies is a course that students take now and does not require attendance and therefore does not need to be considered excused. So what she asked us to do is revise it accordingly so that when she files papers for students who are chronic absent from school, it's in alignment with state and federal guidelines.
Have we, I think this is an important one, but I I'd be very reticent to move forward with any of this until we had some student feedback. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the ones on our board, but I think that
We have a lunch
Next Tuesday?
next
next
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah, so we can do that then. It's a good
right?
idea.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the ones that we need our student brains on.
Sure.
I was curious about, 3, the work study, is that just crossed out because maybe 4 covers it?
Well, it's just said in my comments that work study courses the students take now does not require attendance and therefore does not need to be considered excused.
I get a little bit queasy over words like with appropriate documentation and a couple of other words in here that I
Who's
feel like
defining
we need to
appropriate?
define.
Okay.
And I think there was another one in here that maybe a little, like, what does that mean?
How are we measuring the 10%? Like, is it
150 days.
hours or, well, so what if they show up late? How late into the day can they show up and it still counts as a day or?
I think for chronic abscess, it's a full day. It's not by period.
What about half days?
Yeah, because,
I believe it's still full days is how they count that, but I'll check into that for you.
because I had a student who became chronically tardy and would get the letter just like, hey, be aware.
Wait.
So,
Going off of that, Jessica,
mhm.
okay, so I think it's this third paragraph. 2 basic requirements in order to earn full class credit. 1 is to satisfy all academic requirements and 2 is to exhibit good attendance habits.
Mhm.
What is good attendance habits? And are
Thank
we
you.
really preventing or assigning credit based on attendance? Or do kids get credit for classes based on their academic performance only?
Their academic performance.
Okay.
It's, this is where in this conundrum, seat time versus active performance, and that's what you're asking the question. And I think we still have a lot of our antiquated comments like that in our policies and our state statutes that at some point needs to be clarified because online learning is now part of student experiences, internships, work studies, things like that. And I don't think the system's caught up yet with a lot of that student experiences we have right now versus what it was back in the day. So great question. Right now, truly, it's based on their academic performance, but we all know that students can't do well academically if they haven't been present in the classroom to learn the materials.
Unless they go home and read the book.
Yes, right. Yes. But folks out there, we want kids to be in school every day. So, yeah,
Yes,
yes.
no,
We do, but
you didn't get to meet my middle one.
That's fine.
is this something that we should have in the policy? Like, I don't know that it should be there.
That third paragraph.
No, just and 2, exhibit good attendance habits.
Okay.
Agreed on all of, like, attendance is important, but there are some kids out there, such as Jessica's child.
I'm not gonna talk about myself as a student. You're
But now that you
have. Yeah, the whole, extended period, I think we need to define that. A teacher could maybe think 4 days is an extended period. Somebody else could say 3 weeks is an extended period. I just don't know that this needs to be as subjective as it is throughout the document.
Well, like the temporary absence due to illness or death of family, what's temporary? What,
I mean, last year we had a student whose family was in Germany, so that was much more extended than,
I wonder if, like, some of that verbiage and then also touching on the appropriate documentation, if you could kind of sum that up in like something, I wrote down reasonable documentation, maybe required to verify as defined by administrative regulation.
Right, because ultimately the principal is the one who excuses students for school. They base it off of parents'
So it would give you some flexibility.
I think we need to give them some flexibility. I agree with that. I don't want to be, I'm not trying to say lock it into a definition that they can't
Right.
work outside of the box with.
But also addresses our issues of,
Right, right.
There are situations where a parent may have to eventually provide a doctor's note because of consistent absenteeism from school.
Is that, in the employment world, we're not allowed to ask for that anymore?
Mhm.
Is that something that's different, obviously? I mean, everything's different in the school world. Is that something we're allowed to ask for? I'm
My understanding is yes, we
certain,
certainly, yeah.
This one's tough. I want to hear what the kiddos say.
Okay.
I want to hear what a truancy kiddo says. I'm not even
Don't know if I
kidding.
could pick that. I don't know if I student who's a truancy kid.
Just not.
But we'll have kids who join us for lunch.
Yeah.
Look it over, enjoy some pizza with us and talk about what their thoughts are.
Can we give it to them ahead of time too, so they have time to think about it?
Yeah, to discuss
That would
it.
be an interesting
Or give
question
it to
because
Tina and
I don't know how far in advance they're chosen to join us for lunch.
maybe pass it on to her and say if she.
But I'll pass on to Tina and have her.
I think this might take a
So
little bit.
maybe the kiddos that are interested in this particular subject.
Right.
Want
Yep,
to
we can do
join.
that tomorrow.
Thank you.
We approving this, where's the business meeting?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay, thank you. I was gonna say that's
Yeah, we can take more time.
That's a
Nice.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Alright.
give our sincerest condolences to Michelle because I know it's not
Yeah.
easy.
No, no,
Yeah.
yeah,
I know it's not
no,
easy.
no, I understand.
All right, the D policies, would we like to touch on these? We've got about 15 minutes before we go into executive session.
D
So
policies?
The E2, DJCEA,
The purchasing
DJE,
authority.
DHA, they all start with D.
You don't wanna go to the the ones below, or we?
That was what I was asking. It was okay for us to
Oh, yeah.
to go ahead
I-
to I.
Yes.
for now, okay. But thank
Given
you.
time, given
Thank you,
time,
thank you
yeah,
so
yeah.
much for helping to break some of those things that were confusing me out for these.
Same.
policies.
Uh,
CASB's given us some special policy updates. So most of these are coming because of some legislative changes. So IJ is instructional materials selection and adoption. And I do know we had some public comment on these as well. Where'd my public comments go? Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
See. Any discussion?
The only question I have is why on the IJ, why the red lines, what's going on there? What's the
There
nitty
was
gritty?
just a-
Somebody did a thing with two
Yeah.
libraries.
They wanted to split the instructional materials from the library resources. So we have a separate policy now that covers the library selection
That's the why
process.
then, okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, so the public comment there was pretty positive.
Okay.
They did ask, they hoped that students moving into the upper grades 9 through 12, that they had greater flexibility in curriculum choices independently. So that's probably not a today thing, but as we're looking at strategic plans, how do we make their education more adaptable to
So that's why the new
themselves?
policy IJL
Yeah.
is separate now. So it is a separate policy just for the library.
Yep. No, I was just referring back to the comment.
Right.
Yeah. IJL is the resource, how to go about selecting resources. I did have, and I don't see that she responded to the public comment. I did have a parent ask why the curriculum falls under us, but why the library resources were all given to you as the superintendent, and explained to her that the librarian actually makes most of the like day-to-day choices, and that you as superintendent kind of affirm it, that I think our policies are very all-encompassing. Make sure that you're covering, time, depth, all the breadth of all the things. Because she just wanted to make sure that we weren't limiting access to different ideas.
Yep.
So,
We have a librarian.
No, not full-time, we have part-time. Here at this school, at the elementaries, there's a paraprofessional that kind of helps out in that area, yeah.
I think the librarian.
So basically it's you choosing what's in the library?
There have been some great books on cars and airplanes and home improvement, things like that. Yes. Right.
that said, we have a wonderful partner in our library district, and they have
Right.
over and over again offered to help fill any gaps that we
Right.
perceive. So I share that with you again.
10 in
Yeah.
the morning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on IJL? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to IKF, graduation requirements.
Only one change on there in that, because the new SAT format, they decided to lower the math score for graduation to 480. And this is similar to what they did back during COVID when they changed the score. They reduced the score temporarily during COVID. This one is because of the fact they want to see how the students perform on the new SAT format.
We did have a comment from our new principal at the middle school, high school. So I think this is, again, a policy to put in front of our students, kind of with this thought is introduced, that the Board of Education has an opportunity to ensure that our graduation requirements are equitable for all students. And she brings experience from Jeffco and says, we aren't actually very well aligned. And I've heard that from others before as well. So we can just make this approval and then send this one back for future work. So for new board members, we don't have to make all the corrections all at once. We can do it in pieces, so.
Yeah, because the next, what she's asking us to do is a big,
It's a big one, and
Big one.
I told her, I was like, yeah, this one, thank you.
What is she asking us to do?
She wanted us to look at the number of credits
and the
required.
courses.
I'm confused.
Go ahead.
So there's this policy sent out by CASB regarding graduation requirements. And then is Maria talking about a policy that we have?
So it's the same policy, it's IKF.
Okay,
She's just asking when we last looked at how our expectations for a graduate, they're actually higher than our surrounding schools, and they're higher than what, say, a community college would expect a student to have.
And
But at the
this-
same time, our graduation
Rates are
rates are incredible.
fantastic, yes.
It's not like it's hurting us.
No.
No,
It's just setting a higher standard.
it is.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But I'd like to have that
Is this ours or
discussion with
this
Maria. I'd
is-
like to know
Yeah.
where
Right.
she's coming
That's
from,
what she wants, yeah.
obviously. yes.
And maybe, I don't know if this is still in Pam's wheelhouse, but I know she's come to us before with suggestions.
Yeah, sure.
I would be curious if that's still what she's focusing on what her thoughts are too.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just the one that.
Yeah, Pam's comments have been in similar alignment with.
Okay, because I mean, they are the ones that see it from the inside. I would just be curious. I agree, I don't disagree with you, but I would be curious.
We
what
need
they're
to know their
seeing.
insight.
But we also want to keep them here for 4 years.
Yes.
Right.
But just as-
And we don't, there's unintended consequences by changing graduation policy that you think you're helping, but it could hinder students or cause students not
Oh,
to
yeah,
attend.
the effect, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be really thoughtful about that.
Okay.
This is this state level?
Any other policies about the red, or any other comments about just the red line? Then policy KEC, public concerns about instructional materials.
And this is, again, this was a CASB one.
Yes,
Are we duplicating exactly what CASB is doing?
yes.
I hate that.
Let it be known.
Well, and again,
Let it be known.
This is part of, we're separating the instructional resources from the library resources. So the library resources, this structure of how to, express concerns is in the new policy, and now it's just focused on instructional resources and that process.
So that's another place where they separate it.
So yeah, sleep on them. And if we're not ready on Thursday, we can send it back
Now,
for another.
What do you not like about adopted CASBs?
Because we are not like every other school in our state. We have the ability to look at these and mold them to what works for our school. And I think it's incumbent on us to, dive into it and see what does work and doesn't work. And we have that flexibility, as long as Brent doesn't stomp his feet. And he will if we do something like that.
But the biggest piece with this is really just the separation again,
Right.
Right,
the
yeah,
library
let's put
resources. So
together.
that's why we're seeing a lot of red.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, on this one, it does say that we assume all final responsibilities for all textbooks and instructional materials. I've never seen us presented with a single instructional, but ultimately it comes down to the superintendent who's in charge of the teachers, but that's how that follows through.
So we have a proposal for curriculum adoption, and I can bring that forth to have you review that.
Tell us what you're doing. No, don't ask us because we're
Right.
not the professionals, but maybe let us know what you're doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, we're expanding the math curriculum into high school because there's no math curriculum.
Right. Fancy that.
Right. It's like, you need to do this because our kids are struggling on the math test.
So any other questions or concerns?
Do we have a director of teacher and learning?
We do.
We do.
Have they reviewed this?
I don't know if Sunny's reviewed it or not.
Seems like a good one to have
Sure.
laid eyes on.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Make them all go through the pain.
All right, then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Fierce,
I
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh.
Yes.
Yes. All right. You need a few minutes to swap over.
Kristen,
Email her.
having technical